Did you guys see these California wildfires coming? Because I sure did. And you know who else called it? Donald Trump, just 3 months ago.
They said, we have no water. I said, do you have a drought? No, we don't have a drought. I said, why do you have no water? Because the water isn't allowed to flow down. I could have water for all of that land, water for your forests. You know, your forests are dry as a bone.
Yeah.
Okay?
Dangerous.
They're not allowed to rake their forests because you're not allowed to touch it. And all they have to do is clean their forest, meaning rake it up, get rid of the leaves, get rid of, leaves that are sitting there for 5 years. And
we'll certainly get rid of the deadfall.
And guess what? He was absolutely right, but Democrats didn't listen. And so here we are with California on fire yet again, and the left is scrambling to blame it on their favorite scapegoat, climate change, instead of the obvious. So let's set the record straight. Climate change did not cause this disaster. Decades of Democrat failures did. The wildfires raging across California right now are so devastating. As of last night, 0% of the fires were contained. Fire hydrants have no water, reservoirs are empty, and firefighters don't know what to do. This isn't just a natural disaster. This is a man-made catastrophe brought to you by the Democrats running the state. California's wildfires aren't just some freak occurrence, they're the direct result of years of poor management and downright negligence from the leaders who have placed ideology above the people they serve for way too long. Do you know what's fueling these fires? Dead trees, dry brush, and a complete lack of water. That's right. California is running out of water to fight these fires because their leaders have been more focused on virtue signaling than maintaining critical infrastructure. Let's talk about the root of the problem. California's government has spent years ignoring basic forest management, something every other state in the country has no problem doing. They've prioritized woke initiatives over practical solutions. Take the LA Fire Department, for example. Instead of focusing on firefighting, they've been busy implementing DEI programs, LGBTQ initiatives, and I kid you not, reducing the number of white firefighters in the department. Because I'm sure that the number one thing people care about when they call 911 as their house is burning down is the color of the firefighter's skin coming to help them. Here's a radical idea. Maybe the Los Angeles Fire Department should focus on, I don't know, putting out fires instead of putting out racism. Your city is literally up in flames right now. People are dying and countless families are losing their homes as we speak thanks to your virtue signaling. And the failures don't stop there. Just a few months ago, LA Fire Chief Kristen Crowley sent a scathing letter to Democrat Mayor Karen Bass. In it, she outlined how budget cuts are crippling the department. They've slashed $7 million from overtime staffing, leaving critical operations like wildfire response, air operations, and disaster readiness at risk. Meanwhile, California has no problem blowing billions on vanity projects like high-speed railways to nowhere and equity initiatives. Chief Crowley did not mince words. She said, and I quote, "The reduction in V hours has severely limited the department's capacity to prepare for, train for, and respond to large-scale emergencies, including wildfires." So, while California politicians are busy patting themselves on the back for being progressive, their fire department is barely hanging on by a thread.
Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor? Have you nothing to say today?
Contrast this with Florida, a state that is also highly susceptible to wildfires but never sees anything like this. And why is that? Because Florida has competent leadership. Governor Ron DeSantis doesn't waste time on woke nonsense. Instead, he invests in land management, controlled burns, and making sure firefighters actually have the resources they need. It's no wonder that he's even offered aid to California during this crisis. He wrote in a tweet, "Our prayers are with everyone affected by the horrific fires in Southern California. When disaster strikes, we must come together to help our fellow Americans in any way we can. The state of Florida has offered help to assist the people in California in responding to these fires and in rebuilding communities that have been devastated. Imagine that. Florida coming to the rescue of a state that constantly mocks its leadership. The contrast in leadership could not be any more clear. One state takes responsibility and the other points fingers while everything burns literally to the ground. But will California accept the help, or will their pride get in the way of actually doing something productive for their people? And yet, the left continues to deflect. They're blaming these wildfires on climate change to deflect from their responsibility. They'll even find a way to blame you driving your gas-powered car, but they'll never take responsibility for their own failures. They'll never admit that their environmental regulations have made it nearly impossible to manage forests effectively. And they'll certainly never admit that their budget cuts and mismanagement have left the LA Fire Department and other emergency services struggling to do their jobs. Let me be clear about something. These fires were completely preventable. Climate change didn't dry up the reservoirs. Climate change didn't cut the LA Fire Department's budget. And climate change definitely didn't stop California from clearing dead trees and brush. Gavin Newsom and the Democrats did this, not the climate. Many on X are even suggesting these fires could have been started by the homeless population in LA. Yeah, you heard that right. Homeless encampments have been caught on camera starting fires to keep warm. Whether this is what actually caused the wildfires, we'll never know, but this is yet another symptom of California's broken leadership. Instead of addressing the homelessness crisis, Democrats have allowed it to spiral out of control, creating dangerous conditions for everyone that leave everyone wondering, where did these fires come from? I mean, it's not like they didn't have warnings. President Trump sounded the alarm years ago, urging California to clean up its act. He even threatened to withhold federal funding if they didn't start managing their forests properly. But what did the Democrats do? They laughed him off and kept doubling down on their bad policies. So what's the takeaway here? It's simple. Leadership matters, priorities matter, and elections have consequences. California's residents are paying the price for decades of failed Democrat policies. They're watching their homes burn, their communities suffer, and their state spiral further into chaos. And unless something changes, it's only going to get worse. But there is hope. There's always hope. Trump's influence is growing, and more people are waking up to the fact that Democrat policies don't work. They're seeing the contrast between states like California and Florida and realizing that it doesn't have to be this way. We can have competent leadership. We can have safe communities. And we can absolutely have a future where wildfires aren't an annual disaster. And for those of you watching from other states, let this be a cautionary tale. Elections have consequences. Bad leadership has consequences. Don't let what's happening in California happen to your state. So what do you guys think? Is California a lost cause, or will this finally be the last straw for them? Let me know in the comments below what you think, and as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you want to support my work directly so I can keep making videos like this, leave a super chat right down below or head on over to patreon.com/CaitlinBennett and you can gain access to my private Facebook group to help me come up with my next video idea. Thank you guys so much for watching. Prayers to California, and I'll see you next time.